Walt Disney created Frozen to hide search results about Walt Disney freezing himself. Sean Adeltabatabai of your Newswire reports. Internet sleuths uncovered evidence that Walt Disney produced Frozen in 2013 as a means of hiding search results that discussed Walt Disney cryogenetically freezing himself. According to a recent Ask Reddit thread, Disney produced 2013's Frozen in a desperate attempt to hide the fact that its founder, Walt Disney, had his entire body cryogenetically frozen so that scientists in the future might be able to revive him and offer him immortality. College Humor reports most of the claims can be traced to some shady, unauthorized biographies of Disney, Robert Mosley's Disney's World, and Mark Elliott's Walt Disney, Hollywood's Dark Prince. However, both contain numerous objectively false information, have lots of undocumented claims, and are little infamous for making outrageous claims, seemingly for the sake of publicity, although it existed as word-of-mouth rumors before being committed to actual books. There is one small grain of truth to the rumors, though. Bob Nelson, the former president of the Cryonics Society of California, claims that he had knowledge of Walt Disney's desire to partake in the freezing procedure, but he never actually did that. Quote, Walt Disney wanted to be frozen. Lots of people think that he was, and that the body's in cold storage in his basement. The truth is, Walt missed out. He never specified it in writing, and when he died, the family did not go for that. They had him cremated. I personally have seen his ashes. They're in Forest Lawn. 2 weeks later, we froze the first man. If Disney had been the first, it would have made headlines around the world and been a real shot in the arm for cryonics. But that's the way it goes, end quote. So realistically, the likelihood of there being a huge cover-up to mask Disney's cryogenetic freezing seems extremely unlikely. There's no actual evidence for it having happened, and there are mounds of evidence that it did not happen. It was such a popular theory that it was referenced pretty much everywhere. It's not so subtly a major part of Fallout. New Vegas and part of the side quest in Fallout 4, an episode of Family Guy, Futurama, and other assorted bits of pop culture. It was a relatively common belief, however far-fetched, and like any unsavory rumor about its founder, Walt Disney would want to clamp down on that immediately. Now, why would Disney go for such a procedure to produce a major motion picture just to hide some urban legend? The truth about Walt Disney is this. He was very, very, very protective of his company and its image, and that's his real legacy. He believed Disney movies should inspire children, Disney toys should be safe and fun, and Disney theme parks should be spaces for awe and wonder. This is the true Disney ethos, and it is enforced with rigor, focus. Now, how serious Disney's about maintaining the illusion of amazement, you have to know how serious they are, and fun at all of the theme parks, well, they're very serious. There's a covert security force that removes drunken or unruly guests from the park and are almost never seen. They typically operate as undercover agents in the park so as not to give any appearance of anything dangerous or threatening. Disneyland has a cadre of cats they let loose during off hours to make sure rodents are never a problem. They are so committed that the reality of mascots, you'll never see any Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, etc. ever taking off their mask, even if it's on Disney Cruise and Goofy is drowning. Now, in short, the Disney Corporation understands that they have a very strong brand image and a family-friendly company, and they aim to keep things that way no matter what the cost. And you know what's extremely not family-friendly thing is that it was constantly being associated with Disney. Walt Disney being cryogenetically frozen to preserve his body for the future. Now, there's nothing explicitly gross or PG-13 about that in and of itself, but it implies a preoccupation with death, the inadequacy of modern-day healthcare, and total existential dread for the future. These are not things Disney would want kids associating with its founder. He was supposed to be a friendly uncle type who was warm and welcoming and a dreamer of dreams. The idea that he was a frozen corpse hidden beneath a theme park was too grisly and gruesome to be allowed to be conversed of, so Disney had to do something about it. But what? How do you stop an urban legend? Something that, by definition, is unmoored by facts or logic and travels gradually. In our modern age, there was one clear answer. All rumors, wives' tales, and urban legends depend on one serve to propagate them. And that was the key to cutting off the Disney cryo-freeze rumors entirely. That is the core way most people find further information on topics they have heard or are only vaguely familiar with. But mastering and overcoming SEO is no easy task, even for a company like Disney. Google made its reputation by delivering the results most helpful to people searching for something based on keywords. And anyone searching, quote unquote, Disney Frozen in 2011 or before were probably only looking for one thing: information as to whether Walt Disney actually had his head and or body frozen. So how would Disney beat Google at its own game? Well, by making a multi-million-dollar cultural smash hit film called Frozen. In other words, Disney's Frozen. Yes, I am well aware how absurd this sounds. The idea that Disney greenlit and produced a big-budget animated feature simply to goose Google's search results to make an unsavory urban legend about their father, but stick with me. Disneyland used to Photoshop out images of cigarettes in the hands of Walt Disney from images and portraits because, despite being a lifelong smoker, they did not want kids to associate Disney with smoking. There's no company on earth willing to go to the lengths Disney will to protect its brand name, and the urban legend about Walt Disney's cryogenic freezing simply would not go away on its own. So what choice were they left with? Well, they had no choice. The only answer was to produce a film that could be titled Frozen, simply to take over the search results for urban legends about Walt Disney being frozen. Now, I'm not sure, and I'm saying this is likely. All I'm saying is that it's plausible. We know Disney is insanely protective of their brand and would probably have liked to find a way to clamp down on disturbing urban legends, if at all possible. And we can also see that, since the release of Disney's Frozen in 2013, Google search results for Disney Frozen are overwhelming about the uber popular film. In 1998 to 2011, Google results for Disney Frozen. Was Walt Disney frozen? Snopes claimed Disney arranged to have himself frozen in cryonic chamber full of liquid nitrogen upon his deathbed. False. Was Walt Disney frozen after death? Top 10 celebrity myths debunked. Is Walt Disney frozen beneath Disneyland? Mythbusters. So today's Google research for results Disney's Frozen. Frozen, official Disney site. Welcome to the official site for Disney Frozen. Watch videos, play games, listen to music. And it has a beautiful little doll, Elsa from Frozen, could be whatever. Will Disney give Elsa a, it's characters, Disney's Frozen. So it doesn't talk about actually Walt Disney in cryogenics. So this is why it's a fan theory and not fact. It's the kind of thing that would be impossible to prove without a major hack into Disney's email database. And even then, odds are Disney execs are smart enough not to leave a paper trail. So all we're left with is a premise, the results, and a theory to tie the two together. And while it is pretty far-fetched, we like to believe it might be true. I would like to believe that Disney wants us all to take the rumor about Walt Disney freezing himself. And this is by Sean Adeltabai on your Newswire.